Good morning, everybody. This is Renata Brown from A-Spire Magazine, where everything happens between the dash. And we're coming to you this morning on National Poetry Month, and I couldn't think of anybody better than to highlight during this month than Oracle. Now, Oracle, she sings, she writes, she acts, she is an activist, and we are so glad to have her with us this morning to spend some time and learn a little bit more about her platform and the things that she does. Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Miss Renata Brown. And before we get started on me, let me tell you what an honor and privilege it is to be on the line with you. I've been following your journey, and you have stepped over obstacles, stood fast. You are a strong girl, and you are an inspiration to all of us. I'm telling you, Sister Girl, you are an inspiration to us all. So thank you. Thank you so very much for this feature and this honor. It's appreciated.
Well, we are glad again to have you with us, and thank you for your kind words. So, I know you have been doing poetry for a while, but what got you started in poetry?
Initially, what happened is, when I grew up in our home, we had a full library. Floor to ceiling, wall to wall, even a place built into the wall to sit and read with a window and everything. And I was a book nerd. I read almost everything. By the time I was 8, I think it was about 8, I came across a poem by E.E. Cummings. I couldn't even tell you the poem that it was, but I was so taken by his style. He broke the rules in terms of how he presented his works, and I said, I want to do something like that, because I was off the wall anyway. I was the little weird kid in the family and in the community. So that's what really inspired me to truly start writing poetry, was initially Style of Writing by E.E. Cummings, yeah.
That's awesome. I've actually started writing at 8, too, so I can relate to that, of being the nerd girl with my nose always in a book and reading poetry. So we have that in common. So I remember the first poem I wrote. I'm not going to even repeat it. But what was the first poem you wrote?
Well, I don't remember the first poem I wrote, but the first poem that I remember from when I started writing it was 2 years after I started writing. I was around 10. I thought my mother was going to beat me to death. My mother had an issue and oftentimes took things out on me. So one day I'm making sugar toast. You know how you put the butter and the sugar and you put it in the broiler bottom and, you pull it out. Well, when I pulled the broiler drawer out, it came off the tracks. And I freaked. I thought my mother was going to kill me. So I run away to Mrs. Johnson's house behind me. That lived on the block behind us. I used to babysit her daughter. And, yeah, I was a very mature or responsible 10-year-old, so they used to let me babysit her daughter. Anyway, I was crying and just so uncontrollable. And Miss Johnson said, why don't you write a letter to God? Because I was asking God, please protect me, please. So I sat down and I wrote this piece, and this is the first piece I remember writing. Now, I've been writing before then, but this is the first piece I remember writing. May I recite it? It's very short. It's called, Don't Leave Go of My Hands. Don't leave go of my hands, Lord, for you are my guiding light. Don't leave go of my hands, Lord, for you guide me both day and night. Don't leave go of my hands, Lord, for I dare not be alone. Don't leave go of my hands, Lord. Please stay in my heart, your home. And that is the first poem that I honestly remember writing, because it was a traumatic time and it helped me to deal with what I thought I was going to have to deal with when I got home. As it was, by the time I got home, somebody had pushed the drawer back in. It was a no thing, but I didn't know this. And one of the greater things that actually came out of it, because you see, sometimes you would be sent through a trial or a tribulation, on the one end, but the outcome is so ever so positive. The title of the poem, Don't Leave Go of My Hands, came into question with many people. And Mrs. Johnson, the lady I used to babysit for, her husband, he was working on a movie project, an independent movie project, and they couldn't come up with a decent title. And he liked the title of the poem, but he said, don't you mean Don't Let Go of My Hands? I said, oh, no. Now here I am, a little nerdy 10-year-old talking to a grown man about, the essence of grammar, if you will. And he said, well, explain to me. If you can explain to me what you mean, that I would like permission to use your title. And so I explained to him this way. The term "don't let go" means to allow. Don't allow the leaving of. The term "don't leave go" actually means do not depart from. And that's what I was asking God, is don't depart from me. Not don't allow your presence to not be in my life. No, please don't leave me. Don't depart from. And he thought about it. He says, you know what? That makes sense. And so there's some independent film out there with the title "Don't Leave Go." And I assisted in helping to get that title of that film as a 10-year-old.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that is so remarkable, for sure. I'm a part of a movement called Genius is Common, and one of the things it espouses that we all have a genius inside of us. And further, in that movement is that it's not. A lot of times we think when we get adults, that's when it comes. It's with us all the time, and just to be able to express that genius at your age, that's truly remarkable. So I know you've been writing a long time, and we have a lot of parallels because I write and I sing as well. So with you, which came first, the writing or the singing?
Oh, the singing absolutely came first. I remember as early as 5, 6 years old, my godmother, she was with, I guess you have your Hollywood mothers. Well, she was a Hollywood godmother. She was my, godmother manager, I think they call them momagers, and, she used to train me in vocal lessons and what have you, and take me out on auditions. I stopped singing, I think I was, how old was I? I think it was 6, 7 years old. My godmother took me to, no, maybe it was 8. Yeah, a lot of things happened when I was 8. She took me to an audition, and it was a big band audition, all these musicians and everything. And here was the issue. My godmother trained me, signed me up for the audition, but there was a little catch in the law. It said that an actual guardian, a parent or real guardian, had to bring you to the audition. My godmother was not listed as a guardian. So my mother took me to the audition. And my mother, I alluded to that in a prior statement. My mother had an alcohol issue, and my mother actually didn't really like me that much. We were totally different. Many people have seen your picture. My mother was your color, okay? And my mother had some jealousy going on, some enviousness. Back in the day, they had discrimination out in the streets, but there was as much discrimination going on in the home. Anyway, my mother took me to the audition, and on the way, she all smack talk. I got to the audition, and I froze. I absolutely froze. I get back in the car after the audition because they, gave me 3 chances, and then they had to take me off the stage. On the way home, the song that I was supposed to sing, The Birds and the Bees by Jewel Atkins, came on the radio, and I started singing it, and my mother gave me a cold cock backhand slap that loosened 2 teeth for 2 weeks. I stopped singing, and that is when I started writing.
Wow, that's a lot.
She told me she didn't want to hear me singing ever again. So I stopped singing and started writing. So singing came first.
Well, I'm glad you picked up singing. I don't know how many years later it was, but I'm glad you started singing again.
I started singing back when I guess I was in high school. No, well, actually, 8 years old in school. I would only sing at school. I wouldn't sing at home. So at home I wrote. At school I would continue singing because we had a teacher. I went to Catholic school, St. Andrew's in Pasadena, and I had a teacher, Sister Miriam Augusta. She was my 3rd grade teacher, and she was a professional songwriter. Even though she was a nun, she was a professional songwriter. She ended up leaving the nunhood and becoming a secular person and writing for some big name stars and what have you, whose names I can't mention right now. But while she was my teacher, she conducted our little choir, and we actually sang and wrote songs based on the Bible, mostly the Psalms, the section of Psalms in the Bible. So I would write at home, and sing at school because, I wasn't allowed to sing at home. At least not when my mother was at home.
Well,
I know it. I'm telling the story with a smile on my face, and I'm laughing and giggling and what have you. And even my daughter says, "Mom, how can you retell some of the atrocities of your life with such joy?" I said, "Because, baby, I came through. I'm here to tell you about it." And that's why I admire you. I know this interview is supposed to be about me, but I have to say that's why I admire you. I know your physical conditions and things that you've had to come through. I know the personal issues that you've had to come through. And you stand stalwart. You refuse to give up. And that's how I was when I was a kid. No matter what was coming at me, I refused to give up. So when I see somebody like you, I realize, we are connected. We are spiritually connected because there's something about people like us who are able to go through it all and not allow it to stop us from what it is we're meant to do.
Yeah, sometimes I just feel like I just don't have any better sense than to keep moving forward. Sometimes it's leaning up against the wall, just keep on, for sure. I'm going to take the next question a little out of order, but I'm skimming through our pre-interview, and I see, and the question is, if you could collab with any poet living or transitioned, who would it be?
Oh, my God. Nikki Giovanni, because I like the elevation of her approach to writing. She writes from an intellectual as well as spiritual and emotional base, yes, but I like her intellect. Oh my God, when I started doing spoken word, I was told I would not do well. And I was like, why? He said, because you speak over people's heads. Your poetry makes people think. I said, well, I should hope so. That's what you would want. They said, no. Your poetry is written, you have to have had some education in order to understand your poetry. I said, no, baby. You understand the life that goes behind the words of my poetry. And that's what I like about Nikki Giovanni. Her words are pointedly on target with that. In terms of style and depth. And then the other collab, I know you only said one, but the other one would be Nina Simone, because Nina Simone and I share a similar performance style. And what she has to say, I really connected with, I hope that answers the question, but there it is in a nutshell.
Yeah, we are definitely soul sisters for sure. I had an opportunity, and I'm from California, grew up in Long Beach, and I had an opportunity. My teacher in the 5th grade knew Nikki Giovanni.
Whoa.
And she brought Nikki Giovanni in to speak to our class. And I shall never forget that because, as you stated, I too started writing at 8 years old. So by the time I was 10, I thought I was a seasoned writer. And I remember this thought, and I don't know why I remember it all these years later, is, she's a poet like I am. And so I definitely want to meet Ms. Giovanni again and tell her that she had a profound effect on my life, and it was such a delight to meet her so early on. And then, of course, Nina Simone, I don't know that you know this, but I always, when I perform, I always cover her song, Feeling Good. Acapella, that's my standard. People know when they see me, they want me to sing that song. It's kind of as a check-in, like no matter what you're going through, you have to have the mentality that you are feeling good.
Exactly. My favorite from her is the 4 Women. My skin is black, my skin is tan, my hair is nappy. That one. Oh my God. I was a choreographer for many, many years. I started choreographing at the age of 8, actually, as a paid choreographer. I was one of those, what they call child savants. Some of the kids can play a violin or play the piano or whatever at a very young. My thing was choreography. I actually was getting paid by high school kids to choreograph their pieces for their school showcases, or recitals and things like that. And I have a piece choreographed to Nina Simone's The Four Women. Because it spoke it spoke to who I am. Each one of the characters, whether it was because of the color of my skin or the atrocities that I suffered because of the color of my skin, or because of my nature, being a female, being a sensual and sexual female, having been abused sexually as early as 5 years of age. By the time I heard The Four Women, it was like, each one of those women are me. Each one of those women are part of who I believe I am. So,
I actually had a chance through the Kenny Leon Theater here in Atlanta. They performed that play, and it was magnificent for sure. It was breathtaking and really drew you in. So it was awesome to be able to hear in that play and to watch that play through the Kenny Leon Theater here. Shout out to them. So the last question I have is, what is the most important thing you want to take away, that you want someone to take away from one of your performances or from one of your writings?
My hope is that two things would occur. One, from my words, that people will see themselves and be able to find whatever it is inside them that pushes them forward to get through the madness, to wade through it. I have a writing workshop called the Oracle Self-Love Writing Workshop, and my mantra on that is acknowledge, accept, move through, and get ready for the next round. And that's what I would hope, is that they would acknowledge the parts in them that are still joyful, that are still happy. All of us are standing in the minutia of our lives. We're waiting in it. Some of us as early as 5 years old, as I was, and others it may just be hitting them now because of this corona thing, But we are, all of us, always waiting in the current minutia of our lives. But what we have forgotten is that there were times, even if they were minuscule, there were times in our lives where there was joy. Even if it's just because I woke up this morning, or if it's because when I walk out the door and I see homeless people living in a tent and I realize I got a roof over my head. Whatever it is, I hope that through my words, they come to the end of it realizing they got it going on. They're stronger than they thought they were, and they're stronger than they think they can be. Okay? And the other thing I would hope is that they enjoy the performance and want some more.
Well, the last part is definitely a given. They will enjoy the performance and absolutely want some more. Just like this interview, I could just keep talking to you. It's been amazing. I really enjoyed it, and I thank you so much for stopping by and spending some virtual time with us this morning, and I'm glad to shine a light on the things that you are doing. So what do you have? I know this is kind of a question I ask, and we're in a changing world right now. So, but in the future, as it is rolling out right now, do you have any projects or things that you're working on?
Well, fingers crossed that we get this stay-at-home thing lifted and we can get back on the road, because annually for the last 7 years, this will be the 8th year, I go to New Orleans during the Essence, but it's not for, I performed at Essence last year, but I don't go for Essence. I go for Ma'afa. It is the celebration of the commemoration, actually, of the transatlantic slave trade voyage of our ancestors from the west coast of Africa to here to New Orleans, actually, on the opposite side of the Mississippi, and they would ferry them over to New Orleans. And every year I go to Ma'afa and participate in that celebration or commemoration. I was corrected while I was there last year. It's not a celebration, it's a commemoration, because we don't want to celebrate the transatlantic voyage. voyage, and I said, that makes sense. But I go to commemorate, and I do one piece, usually at the end of the walk. And what we do is we start at Congo Square with libations, blessings, and dance, all of the different communities, the Jewish, the African-American, the Asian, all communities, all religions are represented at the opening ceremony, and they release the doves. And then we walk through, coming from Congo Square, we walk through New Orleans, through the French quarters, through living quarters, everywhere. We stop at the tomb of the unknown African-American slave. And we end at the Mississippi, right across from the area that they ferried our ancestors in, and conclude there. And so I'm hoping that happens, because that happens during July 4th weekend. Essence happens to be happening at the time, so it's a good thing because more and more people are starting to discover Ma'afa. So I normally have that going on. And then in September, if we are lifted by then, I am performing for Congressional Black Caucus in Washington, D.C. So July in New Orleans and Washington, D.C. in September. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there is a whole lot of pivoting and things going on for sure in our new reality. But one thing that you said in closing that really stood out to me is it doesn't matter what you have going on around you. You can always find that beacon of joy, that mustard seed of joy, that spark of joy in everything you do. And sometimes we do have to be mindful to actually concentrate on that and not all the things that are going on around us, and grow that within us. So again, thank you for stopping by. I really have tremendously enjoyed this, and we let people know where they can find you.
Alrighty, here's what happened was, my daughter, who was maintaining my domain and everything, Mom, you don't go on your website. You're not doing anything with it. I don't think we should pay this money every month. And so she discontinued my website. So folks, I apologize. In this era, in the 21st century, Miss Oracle doesn't have her website up right now, but I can always be reached through my email, theoracle.cook@gmail.com. If they want to communicate with me, they can find my work at reverbnation.com/The Oracle Speaks. My Facebook, I have 2 Facebook pages. Again, I'm not one of those folks who do all that updating. So, one is under my name, Denise Lyles Cook, on Facebook. That's my military. You see my militarism, my activism.